Hey, Leo here. I'm back again. This is day two of the Family Business Life 9-day transformation challenge. And not only am I back, we are back for another lunch and learn. Yesterday, somebody actually said that the food, that means the presentation on yesterday, was gourmet food. And listen, we're looking forward to bringing nothing less than that to you today. Listen, if you have not had a chance to be a part of you this morning's, my goodness, mastermind experience with Lynn Ann, oh man, you need to go back and get ready for it. As a matter of fact, that experience really brought a lot to bear for me this morning and really challenged me in a lot of respects, transformed me in a lot of ways that were very, very unique. And so I'm really excited about this. I guess you would say teaching conversation. And the reason I call it a teaching conversation is because what I'm doing is challenging what you think and believe in order to transform you in one, how you think and believe, and what it is that you pursue so that you can be on the trajectory to experience mastery in your family life and your business life as you desire to, as you know it's possible, and all of those different things. And the conversation piece is, as I'm challenging you, there's this unspoken back and forth that's taking place. You know what that is. You have it a lot of times. You experience it more than you probably know. And so this is going to be phenomenal. Why is it going to be phenomenal? Is it because I'm speaking? No. It's because there's something being released that should be released so that something can be received that should be received so that there can be a reward of great proportion for you who receive as a result of what's been released. I think it's so important to make sure that we understand the reality that this very construct of this challenge and this transformation is important because when somebody who has the ability to enrich others releases their enrichment from themselves, the power of it, the impact of it, the value of it, oh my goodness, it changes the game. Look here, we got James Powell, who was our day one mastermind experience guest, talking about let's go, let's go. Yeah, we're excited. He's actually chatting in, viewing it on the YouTube side. Oh my goodness, this is going to be exciting. So let me get back to kind of what I was saying in setting this up. One of the things that Lynn Ann and I talked about this morning was the importance of community. And not only the importance of community, but choosing a community, really making the commitment to be a part of an environment that is consistent with where you're trying to go. But also, there are some situations where after you've been a part of community, it requires you to be someone who actually helps to create community, create experiences. And really, what you're seeing in this 9-day transformation challenge, whether you're live or on demand, is the impact of someone and someone's choosing community before today. And as a result of the impact of that community, they are absolutely committed to making community available for you because they know the value of it. Listen, look here, Lynn Ann, powerhouse for day two mastermind experience. He is saying community is foundational, is a foundational component of success. And I cannot agree more. Obviously, I can't because we had such a fabulous time. Glad you're in this lunch and learn. So listen, here's the point. If you choose to eat right now, that's great. Learn while you eat. But even if you're not eating some natural food, you should be getting this food as well. So learn and lunch and lunch and learn. So let's get into this. I want to remind you that our focus for this 9-day transformational challenge is the first 3 days to focus on the 3 misleading beliefs, which we dealt with the first one yesterday. Then to deal with the 3 accurate beliefs and the 3 master keys. And let me just tell you, you can't make this stuff up. When I decided on 9 days for this transformation challenge, I really was not thinking about the trilogy, is what I call it, the trilogy of transformation. I was not thinking about to break this up day after day. It wasn't until about a week ago that I was like, man, let's put it in this way. Let's get it in a experience where they can have like 1 full hour of focus on and thought process behind the trilogy of transformation and the realities behind family life crashing and burning, and being able to move into the context of family business life mastery. And let me paint this picture for you real quickly. When you look at this trilogy of transformation, when you look at the 3 misleading beliefs, you look at the 3 accurate beliefs, the 3 master keys, they are the trilogy of transformation simply because they take you from crashing and burning to mastery, right? This is what I love about these constructs as they have come together. It's because, the 2 people that I've already shared some feedback from already, these 2 folks, they are all about high performance. And what I really want to be understood, especially today, because the misleading belief that we're talking about today, I think, is the most debilitating and disgusting of the misleading beliefs. Now, the third one is probably the most disheartening and the most damaging, but this one is debilitating and disgusting. And we're going to get into it. But this high performance perspective really is the essence of mastery of family life and business life, because the thought process is this: we need to go from mediocrity to excellence. And in order to do that, we've got to rephrase and reframe what we think and believe, and then position ourselves to excel and be on a trajectory that's always ascending, not peaking and valleying, but always ascending. Y'all, I tell you, the preachers in the church, they say, I feel my help coming. I got my help with me this morning. Well, this afternoon. So I'm excited. I'm ready to get into this. So let's go ahead and jump into this. Here's the topic for today. Just like yesterday, it's a question. And this one is a little bit different in the sense that it is a challenging question, but this challenging of this idea is really to cause us to evaluate, measurement kind of thought process, evaluate, is their importance over these two. Okay. So let's talk about importance. You may hear me you may often hear me. I be getting ahead of myself. I got to slow down. You may hear me often using words like vital, critical, pivotal. It's very important to use those words in distinction of the word important. What needs to be understood in regard to importance is value is at the core of it. But importance is not necessarily like priority. Importance speaks in the sense that there is a regard for whatever is important, regardless of what level or priority it is. I'll give you an example. So, my wife is important. My daughters are important. My brother is important. My parents are important, even though they're deceased, because their image, their representation in my life is important. My grandparents, though they're deceased, important. Aunts and uncles are important. Work life is important. All these different constructs are important. However, there may be some of those that are more pivotal than others. that are more priority oriented than others. Now, we can even say because something is pivotal, that it is more important. That's an arguable perspective, but it's important that we use, just like yesterday, we talked about using the right measures. Balance is not the right measure with regard to family life and business life. And in the same way, we've got to use the right verbiage to describe the things that we are doing in life and that we are expected to do in life. Y'all, we going to get into some stuff today. This is going to be exciting. And so let's go ahead and go into this second misleading belief. Now, let me reiterate what the first misleading belief was. The first misleading belief is work-life balance. Now, in the context of work and life, again, work and life are essentially synonymous. In the same way, I've been thinking about this today, that family and life are essentially synonymous, and business and life are essentially synonymous. Business is a function of life, and life is a function of business, right? And then the same thing with family. And so that even proves the more that it's important for us to ensure that we're not thinking about these the wrong way. The words and the way we construct our words are very, very, very important. Listen to me carefully, folks. Before we get into this second misleading belief, the main reason work-life balance does not work is because the words do not give life. They don't. The way they are constructed are destructive from the get-go, which is why it's insanity to use the phrase work-life balance, especially believing that you can achieve it. It's impossible. Makes me think about Jim Rohn. It's insanity. So, as we move from the understanding of this misleading belief, number one, work-life balance, and move into the second one, just like you have to use the proper measure, you have to make sure that you're not dealing with things outside of the scope of what they're really designed to be. In the same way, listen, and listen. In the same way as we deal with any beliefs, it's important that our construction of the words are very intentional because they are designed to ensure our focus, our clarity, and our forward progress. So, these misleading beliefs are very important to bust up. One of the other things that I mentioned yesterday that I want to share before we go into the misleading belief is there is a difference between a limiting belief and a misleading belief. So much and so that a misleading belief can look like a limiting belief. And a misleading belief is also limiting, but there's a difference. The limiting belief may come from a misleading belief, but the misleading belief is not necessarily presenting itself as a limiting belief. Okay, I know that's a lot, but I just want you to get that. Either way, if it's limiting, misleading, unproductive as a belief or thought process, it is something we should eliminate. And that's the same thing with family life crashing and burning while business life is thriving and vibing. It needs to be eliminated because it is not productive, nor is it predictably productive. And that's why we are here for this family business life mastery experience. Okay, now, what is misleading belief number two? It is the belief that we must choose between family and business. No, you shouldn't do that. No, you shouldn't do it. Why do we believe? Now, let's be very honest here. This belief emerges in many instances from consequences or circumstances. It finds its way surfacing through experiences that are not so productive. The truth is, we really don't think about choosing between family and business until something rocky starts to happen. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I feel some things moving in here. This is why it's so disgusting and damaging, because it poses as a sense of help for you in a moment of so-called distress. Come on now. Let's hear some things about this. This here is a culprit. It is an absolute deceptive belief that presents itself when you are in the circumstance, the situation of something not necessarily working like you would like it to, particularly between family and business. Oh man, I can't tell you. I have this privilege of being able to, what I call, launch people into their marital experiences as a wedding officiant. And some people say, oh, he married us, and it's kind of like a running joke between wedding officiants. No, I didn't marry you. I married this one over here. I just joined y'all marriage. um, but it's interesting as I work with couples, and even in my own experiences, be it in my marriage and the marriages that I've observed, from my own seed of family and friends and things. So it's so interesting how, when things get tough and it seems like, man, I thought we would work together a whole lot better. A lot of people want to ask the question, well, should we be together? It's like, hold up. What do you mean? Right? And this is also, in my opinion, somewhat ludicrous to begin to ask, well, should I choose business over family? Like, are you serious? Right? If you understood the relationship, which we are going to start to bust that up tomorrow and then get into the relational part of it in a few days thereafter. If you really understood the relationship of family life and business life, you would never ask this question, which is why it's a misleading belief. Should I choose between one or the other? Should I focus on my family? I even had that situation at one point. Should I give more time to my family because of how I was dealing with business? And it's like, why do we ask these questions? Well, it started with that whole work-life balance thing. See, here's what you got to understand about misleading beliefs. One misleading belief will lead you to other misleading beliefs, because they are not only misleading, but they are leading while misleading. You see, you've got to understand that nothing unproductive is designed to lead you to anything productive. Nothing unproductive is designed to lead you to anything productive. And so, to think from a perspective of must I choose between family and business, it is absolutely debilitating, disgusting, and devastating. Now think about this. Let's talk about it. What are some of the frustrations, and why is it that this is so debilitating and destructive and just nasty? Okay, here's why. Here's some of the things that are thought, which are part of the pain points that people have in relation to family life crashing and burning. This is, again, why this is the most devastating, the most debilitating, the most disgusting of these misleading beliefs, because here is where majority of the pain points are manifested, right? One of them is believing that business life is doing nothing but funding family life. Well, let me just say this to you. If it is, in fact, the case that business life is funding family life, well, what else is going to fund it? Come on. What else? What can family life fund business life? I mean, to a degree it could. That's another conversation, but I, what, therein lies not understanding what business life and family life are designed to do. We're going to come back to that. That's going to be later in one of the conversations. That's why you got to come back to the lunch and learn. That's why you got to come back to the mastermind experiences, because we are going to get into all of this. This is a challenge in the sense of even us being challenged to bring this to you with value day in and day out for 9 days, 2 hours a day, 1,080 minutes over the course of 9 days. That is transformational. Okay. So what's another one of the frustrations? Feeling like family doesn't understand business or business doesn't understand family. Hmm. And another way of that kind of manifesting itself is actually in the aspect of, how would I put it? People feeling like they have to throw themselves into their career and know that their career is designed to, help pay bills and, create generational, all those different things. But putting themselves into their career, believing that that's where they're going to get their greatest recognition, their greatest comfort, their greatest achievements, and that somehow that would reciprocate to their family life. But if you're thinking about work-life balance, then that's not going to make sense because, again, work life are essentially synonymous, but ultimately work life is really business life. And so if you're going to balance business life, it's only one. So you're just going to be rolling it from one side to the other, and family life is really not even in it. That's one of the reasons why when I talk about family and business, there's always the added aspect where family is kind of more like an adjective to life. So family life and then business life. Why? Because there is the perspective that family life, okay, is an element of life. It's an aspect of life. Business, it's an aspect of life. Work, which most people when they're saying that they're talking about business, right? They're talking about their career, their profession. So I get that. You've got to understand that the function and focus of what we're doing is about life. It's about living life. It's about doing life. It's about being about it in life. It even goes back to what James asked us on yesterday in the mastermind experience of many of us are talking about we will die for our family. But how many of us will actually live for our family, come alive for our family? In other words, be a source of life for our family. But guess what? We also get to be a source of life for business. See, here's the thing. There's an extreme power in us exposing this misleading belief. This specific misleading belief, there is so much power in exposing it. Let me bring this up here. My screen not wanting to work right. What's going on here? Oh, that's why. Ha, press the wrong button. There's an extreme power to us exposing this specific misleading belief. And again, this goes back to me telling you that this is the most devastating, the most destructive, the most debilitating, the nastiest of the misleading beliefs. Is it the one that perpetrates to perceptively help you? Therefore, busting it up and exposing it. First and foremost, exposing it. Let me talk about exposure from a different angle for a moment. So, one of my experiences in life corresponds with being in the HVAC industry. And while in the HVAC industry, there was a friend of mine that I worked with. He started calling me the people technician. And the reason he started calling me the people technician is because, as such, I would find myself being able to solve the problems for the people and with the people in the same ways that we would solve problems for the systems, as HVAC technicians. And so he started calling me the people technician. So I was talking with a friend of mine one day, and we were talking about like, man, if somebody asked me, what do you do, so on and so forth, what would I say? This was well before I really got the clarity of being the family business life mastery coach, understanding that unique um, the unique ability and skill set and being able to help people, specifically CEOs, business owners, and executives, to expose and eliminate the pervasive problem of family life crashing and burning while business life was thriving and vibing. This was before all of this. I was going by the people technician. And as the people technician, this is what we came up to describe what the people technician does, which is very similar to what I do from the family business life mastery coach perspective. The people technician does this: helps people expose and eliminate blind spots that keep them from winning confidently and predictably. Now, listen carefully to this. The interesting part about what the people technician does is, first and foremost, expose. Why expose? You've got to understand that if something's hiding in the dark as a problem, unless it is exposed, it cannot be eliminated. So you can help people eliminate problems, but if you don't know how to expose the problems to eliminate it, you're in a serious, serious issue of a situation. Now, that's the thing that an HVAC technician does. They don't just know how to eliminate the problem, because if it was about eliminating the problem, the customer might be able to do that because they have such a desire to eliminate their problem. They would find some type of way. But it's not about whether or not you can eliminate the problem. You must be able to do that. But if you can't expose the problem, then you definitely cannot eliminate the problem. If you're going to expose any of the misleading beliefs, of course, you need to expose all of them. You need to expose this one right here. Why? When you expose this misleading belief, you eliminate the perception of help that comes with it. Why? Because when somebody is helping you, you don't want to get rid of them. That's why some of us, we have family members that we really need to kind of put at an arm's length because of certain choices and decisions, and how their choices and decisions may affect what it is that their environment is shaken up to be, and all those types of things. We've got to make sure that there is the appropriate interactions that are going to lead to that which is progressive. And sometimes we cannot just kick it with our family like that. Friends either. But if they help you, there's this sense of perception that we've got to deal with them in a very unique way. When sometimes children have difficult relationships with their parents who supported them and cared for them, but also it was very difficult and challenging, it's hard for them to have hard conversations with their parents, because those hard conversations make them feel like they're ungrateful, or that they were entitled. But that's not how we should look at that. We should look at the perspective of dealing with the tough things, the hard things, as a necessity in order to really appreciate and value the progress that we need to make in our lives. And this particular misleading belief, let me put it back on the screen. Well, let me put it back so y'all can see it. We'll bring it up for you. Believing that we must choose between family life and business life is a huge issue for two reasons. One, the power of choice, and more intentionally and pivotally, the power of decisions, rest in our true recognition as we are excellent, innovative, imaginative, intellectual beings. Okay? Putting ourselves in the position to where we use our energy of thinking and evaluating to determine if something that is designed to be teammates and not opponents should be looked at as opponents. Now listen to me. This is, again, I've said this. We have said this continuously in the promotion of this transformation challenge that family life and business life are meant to be teammates and not opponents. And if they are meant to be teammates and not opponents, to ask the question, should I choose one over the other, is to begin to consider them outside of the scope of what they are meant to be. Okay, it's a whole other thing if you're trying to balance them. Okay, it's a whole nother thing if you're just eliminating family out of it and looking at work life, but you're trying to at least you're trying to do something within the context of these two. But when you start to operate from the level of creating a discord and a destruction, a separation between these two, and try to pit them one against the other beyond balancing, what you're saying is now you are being destructive to yourself, because these two are designed to be of value to you. So there's so much power in exposing this misleading belief of believing that you must choose one over the other. So let's get into the latter part of what it is that I want to talk about. If there's nothing else you need to know that you need both. Listen, do not choose between family life and business life. You see 3 C's of life here is because I'm using that more so as a reference to myself to make sure I talk about this. But I want you to see it as well. And there's going to be this ebb and flow of the you need both in it. What I need you to understand is that family life and business life, choosing between them is not productive for you. We're going to talk about why when we get into the second accurate belief, which is day 5. What you've got to know about the problem of trying to choose between these two is that even if you try to choose between them, what you're going to find is that they're going to still be there and still be expecting you to do something with them according to how they are designed to function. We're going to talk more about a design later on, but I do want to kind of introduce that as I talk about these 3 C's of life. If you were on the mastermind experience earlier today, or if you watched it before you got to this lunch and learn experience, what you heard was me talk about the 3 C's of existence and the 3 C's of life with Lynn Ann. And let me just tell you, this is just day 2, but James and Lynn Ann have brought the fire in 2 days. And I just cannot imagine what it's going to be over the next 7 days with the next 7 people who are going to, well, actually 8, because one of them is a couple. The next 8 people who are going to be in the queue. But as she and I talked and she shared some things, she really stirred me up a lot and brought out a lot of things. And, I told her she was triggering me and triggering certain thought processes about this very unique construct and perspective of family business life mastery. And so I shared with her in brief the 3 C's of existence and the 3 C's of life. The 3 C's of existence, I'll share them for you again. I'm not going to go into detail. The 3 C's of existence are creation or creativity, connection, and contribution. Now notice, contribution is actually the first C of the C of life. I like how that actually worked out. I didn't create the 3 C's of existence, and I really didn't create the 3 C's of life. I just coined the phrase. But the three C's of life are contribution, compensation, and consumption. And if you kind of go in your mind as if I'm on a whiteboard, what I would give you to think about is if you see the three C's, you got contribution at the top, and then draw a line under that. And then under that line, you have compensation and consumption. Now, why do we draw a line between contribution and then those last two? It is because contribution is really distinctly different than the other two. Now, the other two are different than each other, but the difference is they are more materially focused, whereas the contribution is more mindful focused. So your categorization is one is more on the mindset side, the other is on more on the material side. Actually, James talked a lot about the importance of us letting go of ego. What happens is the aspect of ego really finds its way more in the areas of, watch this, the areas of compensation and consumption, simply by virtue of whether or not you engage with them in a certain way. So let me explain what I mean by engage with them in a certain way. We must understand that these three C's of life are absolutely important. They are pivotal, they are vital, they are critical, they are all of those things, such that you need each one of them in order for the other to exist. You cannot have contribution without there being compensation and consumption. You can't have compensation without there being contribution and consumption. You can't have consumption without there being contribution and compensation. They are absolutely interdependent. Remember those words, you're going to hear them again. Meaning they are independent, but they depend on one another to exist and to function and to truly have their true value. But you can only prioritize one. I'm going to say it again. You can only prioritize one. In other words, whichever one you prioritize is going to determine what your mindfulness is. It's going to even determine what ego, if ego actually exists. Okay, here's what you got to see. If you prioritize consumption, you're absolutely selfish and you're all about what you get. If you prioritize compensation, you're all about your identity, your reputation, your recognition, what you look like in the sense of, what is it that people think of you, their beliefs about you. And so it's very superficial in the sense of you being what's the word I'm trying to say? It's you being identified by things of your possessions, your material, your status, and things of that sort. That's all of those things are ego. But when it comes to prioritizing contribution, in order to prioritize contribution, there's got to be humility, simply because in order to contribute, there is a focus of giving. Even if you know you're going to get something in return. Now, let me just tell you, if you want transformation in your life, you need to have a value for transaction. Matter of fact, I was in a training some years back, and the guy, one of the first things he said in the training, he said, I need y'all to say this with me. He said, listen, very important for you to understand. You've got to be okay with something for the rest of your life. And here's what it is. Say this with me. I'm okay. I'm okay. With others making money off of me, for the rest of my life, And I could tell you in that room, there was some people excited, and there's some people you could feel like the wind was pushed out of them, pressed out of them, or poked out of them. Why? Because there were some people that were really uncomfortable with that saying because they don't have a value for transaction. Let me give you another example about this thought process of transaction. When it comes to transactions, I told some of the guys I trained in the HVAC industry, I said, this training that I did was called It's Not a Transaction. Meaning when they did sales and things of that sort, it was important that they did not look at it as a transaction, but that they looked at it what it really is. It is a transfer. The transaction is designed to be a transfer for the accessibility of transformation. Need to understand, all of us, is this: that there is no transformation without a transaction that transfers us from our current state to our new state. There's nothing. Okay. And so while there's a necessity to be transactions that produce compensation, that produce the ability for us to consume and things of that sort, because compensation is even wrapped up in consumption. And the consumption takes place because somebody is contributing some. You see how those things work together, and they have their, just interweaving. But when it comes down to it, it's very important to understand that the prioritization needs to be at the level where the ego is let go and humility is held in value. Why? Because both of those categories, the mindfulness and the material, are needed. And if we deal primarily in the material environment as a priority, what happens is we diminish our giving, which our giving opens the door for our accessibility, for being able to be compensated and to consume, to receive. I was with one of my clients recently, and she was talking about how she's a giver. She's like, I'm a giver. And because of being a giver, there was a point in her life where she was like, I don't need to receive. Matter of fact, she would even tell people who wanted to give in certain ways, or maybe want to help, maybe want to provide support in certain regards. She would say to them, I'm good. I don't need any help. And that was one of the things that caused her to experience divorce. Now you're starting to see why I'm bringing this in. Here's what she said. She said, I learned that it was so important for my giving for me to be very comfortable with receiving. And in the same way, for example, talking about be okay with people making money off of you for the rest of your life. Every time somebody makes money off of you, you're contributing to them, right? You're contributing to whether you're consuming or see, that's the power of valuing contribution. When you value contribution, prioritize contribution over the other two, what happens is in every interaction of compensation, of consumption, contribution is the key. See, when you are being compensated, you are actually showing value for someone who receives some value from you through some type of contribution. When you are consuming, you're showing value for someone as it pertains to the benefit and value of their contribution. Now, Leo, how does all this relate to we need both? How does all of this relate to, this misleading belief of choosing between family life and business life? How does this relate to the importance of needing both and understanding that this is a very disgusting and debilitating, misleading belief? Here's how. It communicates to us that there is a vitality of our life by a right view of the vitality of both of them. Now, one of the things you're going to learn about family life and business life as we go on is this reality that understanding their natures is a very pivotal responsibility that we have. And when you understand the nature of family life and business life, it positions you to deal with them appropriately and have one, not only the right thinking and beliefs, but to be able to ask the right questions. Remember at the beginning of this, we talked about the importance of how you phrase things, how you construct statements and perspectives. And the questions we ask are also very important as it pertains to, especially what we ask ourselves, connected with family life and business life. And to ask ourselves a question of, should I choose business life over family life? It speaks to us being inconsistent with our true identity. Let me share this with you because I think it would be of great value to be transparent at a different level with you. Leo was a quitter. Mm. When I tell you I was a quitter, I was kind of professional at it. So much and so I knew how to quit, and you didn't know I really quit. And a lot of the quitting that I did, it makes me really understand what people are saying, especially in the context of marriage, when they say, well, it was the best thing for us. And, we really were not meant for each other and this and that. And I'm like, I'm sitting here and I'm like, cop out, cop out. And I can hear some people saying, well, Leo, you don't really understand. No, 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 no. You don't really understand. And here's why I say that. When you understand what we were created to do and to be and to have, it would change how you think about that. Let me explain. You and I were both created to, in the context of our being, have the ability to do something called subdue. And to subdue means to overtake something that is coming against you. The opposite of subduing is to succumb. Now, I was talking to my oldest daughter earlier, and what we were talking about was responsibilities and taking care of the things that you need to take care of and understanding the importance of work. It's kind of interesting that we're talking about this, especially that we're in this family life, this family business life 9-day transformation challenge. But nonetheless, it's happening. This is kind of like an everyday thing for us, always having some type of conversation about something. And I asked her this question. I said, let me ask you this. I said, can a dog pick up their own poop? I know that probably blindsided you a little bit. It's okay. But I asked the question. I said, can a dog pick up their own poop? She said, no. I said, why not? She said, because it's a dog. I said, yes, that's true. But let's look at this. It's primarily because the dog is simply a creature. The dog has no intellectual capacity to think in such a way and move their body in such a way with contortions that would allow it to pick up a piece of their poop, a bag, and all sorts of things the way we do, use a pooper scooper or anything else. They don't have the structural ability either to do that. But ultimately, they are not creator type creatures. We are creatures. We are created, right? But we are created creators. We are creators who have the ability to create, and therefore we have the ability to subdue things, meaning we have the ability to bring control and wrestle control in an environment. I mean, think about it. Here it is. We're using technology to engage, to go live and stream to different platforms and to make available on websites and have people to connect here and there and use devices and all sorts of things, which no animal in any way, shape, form, or fashion has ever nor will ever be able to do that. So, to position ourselves to ask the question, should I choose between the two or feel like that, is to operate in the mindset or the mind frame of succumbing. Now listen, if you have divorced, experienced it, you know why you did. You had to reason it, reconcile, and go through. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about when we justify without giving a right framing of perspective of why those things are the way they are, haven't been the way they are, whatever the case may be. Here's the thing. One person, if there's a divorce, I guarantee you, at least one person says, I don't care. And so it's less of that there was no compatibility, but there was no succumbing where there is some overcoming and some challenging for transformation. What you've got to understand is challenge and transformation love each other. And growth can only take place when there's a willingness to challenge what we believe and think in order to position us to experience something that's better, greater, and more enriching and fulfilling than what we were or are experiencing. In closing, and preparing to close, I'd say, you were meant to subdue. You were meant to win. So, me being a quitter, I would justify in every way possible things that I felt I really couldn't couldn't subdue or really just break through. And here was the issue with me. The issue was I had not been conditioned to think about what it is that I'm giving you to think about in the way that I'm giving you to think about it, whether it's related to family, business, life, mastery, or not. I did not think about that the way that I phrased things and asked things and looked at things was a huge indicator of what it is that I knew and thought about myself, whether it was consistent with who I was or not. And what I want you to know as to why this particular misleading belief, believing that we must choose one over the other. Let's answer the question. Is one more important than the other? No. Might one be more important than the other in a moment or in the context of time, energy, and effort? I would say yes. But even then, it doesn't mean that they are supreme over one another, meaning it doesn't mean that one is more pivotal. They may be momentarily more pivotal, but these are uniquely valuable in a very intriguing way. What you've got to understand is that the true perspective related to this misleading belief really speaks to if you're being who you were really created to be. See, me being a quitter was a problem because I was not being who I was created to be. I was created to subdue. I was created to see a problem and be able to bring solution to it, even if it meant it took time and a lot of time. So were you. And that means that if family life is crashing and burning, while business life is thriving and vibing for you, just know that you can stop the crash and burn. Not only can you stop the crash and burn, you can stop that which causes the crash and burn. And what is it that causes the crash and burn? It's these three misleading beliefs. We've dealt with two of them. And you got to come back tomorrow for the third one. And that third one is going to be an unclear relationship. You might have an idea of what that's talking about, but we'll deal with it tomorrow. Also, as you can tell, I'm coming down off of my speaker zone. Day 3 is going to be awesome. We got, as I just shared, the lunch and learn portion with an unclear relationship. And we're going to be talking about the third misleading belief that causes family life crashing and burning. But that morning, we're going to start with another mastermind experience. And this one is going to be very unique. This is going to be with Brandon Bell. He's a ministry leader as well as a former football coach. And he brings a very unique perspective to the focus of family life and business life. And he talks a lot about goals. And in those goals, he kind of rivals a bit of the thought processes that James has been talking about related to, are we living for our family? Are we going to come alive for them? He talks about goals in the sense of what goals are you establishing for your family? And that's a huge, huge conversation. And the way that he talks about it is so interesting. And I'm really excited to talk with him too, because of everybody on here, probably maybe another person that's going to be part of the mastermind experience as a guest. He's the one he's in full-time ministry. That's actually a part of his daily work. And so he's going to be bringing a unique perspective to our mastermind experience conversation in the morning, 6:30 a.m. So just know you have the ability to join live at 6:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Or you can come back and check out the automatically on demand replay. So if you're not in the live, that's cool. It's going to automatically be recorded and resituated exactly in the place that you accessed it. So I think that Leo can kind of close this down. This is what my hope is for once we get past these 3 misleading beliefs. It is my hope that you feel 2 things. One, that you feel just icky. is that you feel like man, I was believing that, it's like, but also, secondly, want you to feel epiphany, in that the fact that those misleading beliefs have been exposed, now you can begin to see what can eliminate them. Now, the beautiful part about your intellect and your imagination is that you probably already know what will eliminate these misleading beliefs just by hearing the clarity that you have heard about them. That's great. But I still want to give you the absolute specificity that I have to offer and release that to you so you can receive it and get the reward that comes with it. So, starting with what we heard from James earlier, he said, let's go. Did we go? I think we did. And then he shared this as well, which I'll share with you, that community is the most influential component of a person's life. We become like those we associate most with. And listen, if you're associating with us, thank you. Thank you for resonating with what it is that we are offering you in value, to position you to be on the trajectory to predictably and productively achieve in your life, to position you to unleash the fullness of your unlimited, unfulfilled potential, and be able to bring excellence to the environment you're in and to everything that you do. I want to say, be blessed to be a blessing. And Leo's going to get off of his soapbox, because this is it for today. Tomorrow, we actually have 3 experiences, 2 for our general admission folks, and then 3 for our VIP folks. Now you say, Leo, how is that VIP? That's extra for them. Extra in the sense that that's more time, more energy, more effort. It is, but it's extra value too. Remember, when there's no transaction, there's a limitation on transformation. But when there's a transaction, there's a transference that takes place to get you to transformation. So keep doing the transactions. Keep transacting time, energy, effort, resources for those things that are valuable. And more than anything, Keep rocking with us for this 9-day transformation challenge focused on family, business, life mastery. You hear me now? We getting out of here. You take care and have a good one. Oh, one last thing. Make sure you consider joining the community. Peace.